The story begins with an image that says it all. A 17-year-old boy kneels on the marble floor of the Imperial Academy of Magic. Before him, a tribunal of 5 wizards in golden robes looks down at him from their elevated pedestals as if he were trash. The headmaster, a man with silver hair and a cold expression, slams a report down on the table. The headmaster announces that after 3 years of evaluation, the tribunal's verdict is unanimous. Kael Dorne is officially expelled from the Imperial Academy. Kael looks up, not with anger, with genuine confusion. He asks why, pointing out that his grades are perfect and that he has never missed a class. The director interrupts him, pointing out that his grades are irrelevant. He reminds him that the Academy exists to train mages who protect the Empire, not to raise glorified artisans. He explains that his gift is called restoration, an ability that serves only to repair broken things. He cannot create fire. He cannot cast lightning. He cannot kill. One of the magistrates adds contemptuously that in the Academy's 10-year history, Kael is the only student to have failed the combat exam 3 times in a row, and that the last time his only defense was to repair the wall his opponent had destroyed to use as a shield. The headmaster concludes that that is not magic. That is construction, and he tells them they have decided on a fitting fate for him. Kael remains kneeling. He isn't crying. He just stares at his own hands. Images from Kael's past flash before his eyes. Kael explains that he always knew his magic was different. When he was 6 years old and accidentally broke his mother's favorite vase, his hands glowed on their own and the vase was restored to its original condition. His father, a village blacksmith, thought it was a miracle. The Academy recruiters thought the same. Kael recalls that for 3 years he thought he would find a way to make his gift useful in combat. That if he could repair, perhaps he could strengthen, amplify, perfect weapons before they were used. But the tribunal didn't give him time to figure it out. The guard escorting Kael out of the academy hands him a document sealed with the Imperial emblem. He tells him these are his reassignment orders. He explains that the tribunal, in its generosity, has decided not simply to expel him, but to give him an official assignment. Kael opens the document. He reads aloud in disbelief. Assigned destination, City of Varek. Mission, assessment, and documentation of ruins. Duration, indefinite. The guard shrugs as he tells him that Varek was abandoned 40 years ago after something destroyed it from within. He adds that no one who enters ever returns, and that the Empire has been trying for decades to figure out what happened. He wishes him good luck with genuine cynicism. The academy door closes behind Kael. He stands alone on the street with a small backpack, a death warrant disguised as a mission, and his hands that only know how to fix things. Long pause. Kael looks at the document. He folds it carefully. He puts it away. Then he says quietly that I suppose this is where it begins. 3 days of travel by wagon with a driver who refuses to speak. The man drops him off at the edge of the road, leading to Varek, and runs off without saying a word. Kael walks alone toward the city. The first thing he notices is the silence. There are no birds. There is no wind. Only the sound of his own footsteps on cracked stone. The second thing he sees is the city itself. Varek was enormous. It has the architecture of a capital city. Towers that once touched the clouds, now split in half. Wide avenues covered in cracks, so deep you can see the subsoil. Dry fountains with broken statues pointing in directions that make no sense. And above all, what catches Kael's attention most? Everything is broken in a perfectly symmetrical way, as if something from the center of the city had exploded outward with mathematical precision. Kael, who has spent 3 years studying patterns of destruction to better understand his magic, stops in the middle of the main avenue and whispers that this wasn't an attack. It was a seal that broke. Kael tells himself he doesn't know what that means yet, but that something in his hands, in that magic the court called useless, is responding to this place, as if everything broken here were calling to him. He takes a step forward, and in that moment, the ground beneath him crumbles. Kael falls. Not far. 3 meters, maybe. Enough to slam his shoulder hard against the stone. When he looks up, he's in an underground chamber. Ancient. The walls are covered with engraved symbols he recognizes from his history books. containment runes, the kind of magic used to seal away very dangerous things. And the runes are broken. Almost all of them. Only fragments remain. Before he can process the situation, he hears a sound. Footsteps. Something moving in the darkness. Kael stands up instinctively and activates his magic. His hands glow with a soft white light. And without thinking, he presses his palms against the wall of runes. What happens next leaves him speechless. The broken runes reassemble themselves under his hands. The pattern spreads across the entire wall like water finding its natural course. In 10 seconds, a seal that had been fractured for decades is complete. The sound in the darkness stops abruptly. Silence. Kael stares at his own trembling hands. He had never repaired runic magic before. He had never attempted anything so complex. Kael thinks to himself that the tribunal was right about one thing. His magic doesn't kill. But he has just discovered something far more important. He can repair seals that imprison things the Empire doesn't even know are still alive beneath this city. He leans against the repaired wall, and aloud, almost to himself, he says that he supposes he won't be bored. A voice comes from above. Someone saw him fall. Kael looks up. At the edge of the hole, a girl about his age is staring at him with an expression that's a mix of fascination and alarm. She has short, ash-colored hair, light armor with fresh battle scars, and on her back she carries a sword that, Kael immediately notices, is split down the middle. The girl tells him she's been in these ruins for 6 months and has never seen anyone repair a seal that way. She asks him how he did it. Kael asks first what she's doing here. The girl replies that she is a relic hunter, that Varek has more ancient magic than anywhere else in the Empire, and that there are people who pay well for such things. Then she returns the question. Kael simply replies that he was exiled. Pause. The girl looks at him as if she's recalculating something. She says he was exiled to Varek specifically. She asks him what he did. Kael shows her his hands. He tells her that his magic only repairs things. The girl looks at him for a moment longer. Then she looks at the wall of perfectly reconstructed runes. Then she looks back at him. She says there's something she needs to show him. She tells him that if his magic can do what she just saw, he might be the only person who can prevent this city from destroying the entire empire. The girl, whose name is Mira, leads him through the ruins with the confidence of someone who has memorized every crack in the ground. Along the way, she explains what she discovered during 6 months of exploration. Varek wasn't destroyed by an outside attack. It was built around a prison. 300 years ago, the first emperor did not kill the 4 ancient creatures that ruled this continent before humans. He sealed them. He buried them beneath what would later become Varek, using the entire city as a containment system. Every building, every fountain, every cobblestone was part of a gigantic seal. 40 years ago, someone broke one of the central seals from the inside. The city began to disintegrate from the core outward. The empire evacuated without understanding what had really happened. And now, after 40 years of deterioration, the other 3 seals are on the brink. Mira leads them to a central plaza where the floor is made of translucent glass. Below, you can barely make out a huge silhouette moving slowly in the darkness. Kael asks what that is. Mira replies that it is one of the 4. She tells him that if that seal gives way, whatever is beneath it will come out, and that whatever is beneath it has been hungry for 40 years, which means the first thing it will do is devour everything in its path. Kael looks at his hands. He asks how many seals are left to break. Mira replies that there are 3, but she adds that the first one, which broke 40 years ago, released something that is still on the loose in the ruins, and she doesn't know how close it is to the other seals. Kael is silent for a moment. Then he asks if the Empire knows all this. Mira tells him no, and that if they find out, they won't send anyone to repair the seals. They'll destroy them all to kill whatever's inside, regardless of the collateral damage. Another pause. Kael looks at the silhouette beneath the glass. He looks at his hands. He looks at the fragments of the broken seal scattered around the square. He says quietly that his magic doesn't kill. It never has. The tribunal knew that, and that's why they expelled him. Pause. But he adds that he doesn't let things die either, if he can help it. He kneels down by the edge of the central seal. He places his hands on the first cracked runes. He tells Mira to tell him where to start. Before Mira can answer, the ground shakes. They both jump to their feet. Mira instinctively draws her broken sword, then remembers it's broken and sheathes it again with a curse under her breath. Kael sees the broken weapon and, without thinking, says he can fix it. Mira tells him that the sword was broken by one of the creatures released 40 years ago, that it is a wound inflicted by ancient magic, and that no blacksmith in the Empire has been able to repair it. Kael simply says that he is no blacksmith, and he holds out his hand. Mira hesitates for a second. Then she hands him a sword. Kael takes it. His hands glow, but this time it's different. The light is more intense, with a hue he's never seen in his own magic. The sword vibrates between his fingers as the two halves draw together, fuse, and the broken metal closes seamlessly. When he returns it to Mira, the blade has a faint glow it didn't have before. The ground shakes again, harder this time. Mira grips the repaired sword. She feels in her hand. Her eyes widen slightly, as if she senses something she didn't expect. She says it feels different, more alive. There's no time for further analysis. From one of the side alleys of the square, something emerges. A creature made entirely of concrete and fragments of broken runes. A containment guardian that has run amok without a seal to guide it. As tall as two men, slow but unstoppable. Mira charges head-on with her repaired sword. Her first strike leaves a trail of light on the monster's living stone, something it clearly didn't expect. Kael, unable to fight, does the only thing he knows how to do. He analyzes the battlefield as a damage pattern. He sees the cracks in the ground where the creature advances. He sees that every step it takes on the broken runes gives it energy, as if it feeds on destruction. Kael runs to the runes on the ground in front of the creature and begins repairing them at full speed. The creature steps on the first repaired section and stumbles, as if the repaired ground were repelling it. Mira understands the tactic instantly. She shouts for him to keep going on the left side. The two work in sync. Mira keeps the creature occupied while Kael cuts off the fragmented ground that feeds it. In 3 minutes, the creature is surrounded by repaired ground, with no energy to sustain itself, and it collapses. Silence. Mira wipes the sweat from his forehead. He looks at Kael with an expression that isn't exactly respect, but it's very close. He says he's never seen anyone win a fight by repairing the ground. Kael replies that neither has he. That night, Kael settles into what used to be a library. There are torn books everywhere, but the walls still stand. While Mira sleeps, he works silently, repairing the books one by one, absorbing the information they contain as he reconstructs them. He finds a volume detailing the original seal system. He reads it, his hands glowing over the reconstructed pages. His expression changes. The 4 seals do not merely imprison creatures. They are the core of a balance. If all 4 fall, it is not only the creatures that are released. The counter seals that keep the boundaries between the material world and something older stable are also released. In other words, it is not just Varek that is at stake. Kael slowly closes the book. Kael thinks to himself that the tribunal sent him here to die alone. The Empire doesn't know what really lies within these ruins. And he, the most useless mage of his generation, is the only person in the world with the exact ability to prevent all of this from collapsing. Long pause. Kael looks at his hands once more. He says, "All right, I'll start tomorrow." But then, from somewhere deep beneath his feet, a sound reaches him. Not the roar of a creature. Something different. Something that sounds almost like a voice. A voice that has been waiting for 40 years.